Today's the 23rd day of Kislev. We have to get all our learning done before what time? I don't know. At some point, we have to stop learning because tonight is Nittel Nacht, but we're not going to think about that right now. Please, today is the continuation of Perek Aleph and Tanya, that we talk about the Beinoni, the continuation of discussion of the Beinoni. You would think conventional wisdom would say a person that's called a Beinoni, means an intermediate guy. You would think, okay, half good, half not good. Sometimes he does mitzvah, sometimes he doesn't. It's 50-50. The truth is, however, that's incorrect. The Beinoni performs like a tzaddik 100% of the time. The foundational teachings that every yid has two souls, the animal soul, the godly soul, which we're going to talk about. And he constantly has desires, struggles, maybe just like you and me, but he never acts upon them. That's a very powerful lesson, and that's why Rabbah, as it says in the Gemara, Rabbah was erred in calling himself a Beinoni. He said, how can I possibly be acting 100% of the time? Please. As for the well-known saying that one whose deeds and misdeeds are equally balanced is called a Beinoni, while he who has a majority of virtues outweighs his sin is called a tzaddik. Ushem hamushal. It's only a borrowed name. Wait, look, what are you gonna call the average guy? You're gonna say just he's a tzaddik, but he still has struggles. Like, we had to figure out a thing to call him, calling him a Beinoni. It's a borrowed name. Used in reward and punishment. Because one is judged according to the majority of his deeds. If anyone's walking out, please close the door. I don't mind if anyone talks in the other room, but the noise does travel. Because one is judged according to the majority of his deeds. I said that already twice. And he is termed righteous in reference to his verdict, since he is acquitted at his trial. It is only in this legal sense that the term tzaddik is applied to one who performs more good deeds than evil. If, however, we seek to truly define the distinct quality and ranks of tzaddik and Beinoni, we already said this yesterday. Our sages said that righteous people are judged, so to speak, and motivated and ruled by their good nature. Shenemar, v'libi cholol b'kirbi, my heart is slain within me. What does that mean? All of his heart's desires. She'ein lo yetzer hara, ki hara goy b'tainis. Meaning that he, David, the author of this verse, was devoid of evil nature, having slain it through fasting. So we see from the Gemara that the definition of tzaddik in its true sense applies to the person who has rid himself of this evil nature. Whoever has not attained this level, even if his virtues outnumber his sins, so if a person is not purely and thoroughly righteous, then he's not going to be on the level of a tzaddik. But let's say a person is holy and they're learning and they're davening and they're doing mitzvahs, but they're just, they still have thoughts. They still get distracted. Whenever they get distracted, they put themselves back on track immediately. That means they're not a tzaddik. So what are they then? In fact, not only has he not reached the rank of a tzaddik, but he hasn't even reached the level of Beinoni yet. As we said before, every single moment, he is outwardly acting on the level of a tzaddik. So that's why we see that our sages said that Hashem saw the righteous were few. So he rose and planted, meaning he spread them in every generation. He took all the tzaddikim and he put them in different generations in order. Why? Amad ushlasan b'chol dar v'dar. We need tzaddikim to be the foundation of the world. Sometimes it's like a little frustrating. Okay, if I do everything right, I still can't be on the level of a tzaddik, if that's what we're talking about here. No, we need tzaddikim in every generation. We'll put that on the side for a second. However, the explanation of the matter is that we better understand the level of tzaddik and Beinoni is to be found up in Mashal Kosev Rav Chaim Vital Zechron Livracha B'Shara Kedusha Beitz Chaim Shar Nun Perek Beis. In light of Rav Chaim Vital wrote that every Jew, L'chol Ish Yisrael, Echad Tzaddik V'Echad Rashi Yishtei Neshamas. Every single Jew has two souls. Kidechsiv U'Neshamas Ani Asisi. And the souls which I have made, not the soul in each person, but souls plural. So though the pasuk speaks of an individual Jew, it's still talking in a plural sense. Shehein shtei nefashis, these are two souls and life forces. Nefesh achas mitzad klipa v'sitrachara. One soul originates in klipa and sitrachara, not necessarily from a bad place, just from a neutral place. A klipa is a shell or peel, and sitrachara means the other side. This soul, which originates in Klippa and Sitrachar, as we just mentioned, is enclosed in the blood of a human being, giving life to the body. For it's written, for the nefesh of the blood, meaning the nefesh that sustains physical and corporal life, is in the blood. Steve, that's why the Chaver Kedisha has to be very careful to collect every single drop of blood. And that's why Zaka goes and collects every single drop of blood. I've been told by the Zaka members themselves that they do the best they can with the skin and with the other things, but blood is very, very important. Why? Hidam abasar bedami. The life of the person is in the blood. From this nefesh stems all the evil characteristics deriving from the four evil elements. Again, these are derived from the nefesh of Bahamis. Not necessarily is the person evil, but if it does come to the fore, this would be where it would come from. Again, it could be neutral. Is a bear a bad thing? Is a tiger a bad thing? No, it's an animal. It acts like an animal. Instinctually, it has to attack other animals to eat. Is it bad? If a human being goes and instigates it, it's going to rip it apart, and then they're going to shoot it because it acted out. So the nefesh could sometimes act even within character, and it could be considered bad. But generally speaking, it's intrinsically selfish. It's intrinsically self-motivated, and we have to try to channel it the opposite direction, which we didn't even get into. I'm just giving you a little taste. So just as the four elements of fire, air, water, and earth, Eish, Mayim, Ruach, and Afar, are the foundation of all physical entities, so too this nefesh, comprising of four spiritual elements, and since they derive from evil, they themselves are evil, and from them in turn, one's evil characteristics come into being. Again, it's possible to hold that down, but this is where it comes from. For example, just give an example. Anger and pride come from the element of fire, which rises upward. And once ignited by anger and pride, a man like fire soars aloft. Ego, and he's superior to others. Anger, too, is an offshoot of pride. Would a person not be so proud, he wouldn't be so angered. So the guy did this, he got the Ali instead of me. He cut me off, so he'd go first. That's fine. But when you have pride, it leads to anger, and it leads to ego, and it leads to, as we say, ego stands for easing God out. On me, and there's no room for anything else. It's a form of Avodah Zarah we'll get to. So then we have the Taivas HaTainug. What about the pleasures of the world? It comes from Mayim. The appetite for pleasures come from water, because water makes everything grow. So everything that we're eating or taking advantage of, that comes from water. The ability of water to make pleasurable things grow indicate that concealed within it is the element of pleasure. Thus, the appetite for pleasure derives from the element of water. Also, frivolities, scoffing, boasting, idle talk, which emanates from the element of air. Like air, they lack substance. When a teacher, my son's teachers tell me, sometimes the class gets all silly. That's where it comes from. It's up in the air, ha ha ha. You know, it's in the luft. Sometimes you lashon on everything. It's coming from air that comes from the mouth. That's air. Atzvos, which is a terrible thing. Sloth and melancholy, being lazy and slow and miserable. Not necessarily depressed, but we'll get to that also. It's another thing. But just being, just come late. Everything is, that comes from Afar, because it comes from the ground. Earth is categorized by heaviness. So we have all these different elements corresponding to one another. We have Eish, Mayim, Ruach, Afar, air, fire, water, and Earth is the foundation of everything. And we say that corresponds to also the tainug and everything. And we brought these examples. So a man encumbered by sloth and melancholy, which is slow, and leave me alone. I don't want to talk. Likewise, sense a heaviness of the limbs. Where somebody who's energetic and happy, and that comes from hopefully serving Hashem with joy. And from this soul stem also good traits. So if you channel it properly, so let's say you take a bull and you let him loose in a shul, he's going to destroy and break everything and hurt people. But if you harness him, obviously we use tractors today, but if you harness a bull, you know, back in the day before the tractors, they would use a bull to plow the field. It could do the work of 20 men or more. So if you harness the animal within you properly, you could use it to have tainug in things that Hashem wants you to have tainug in helping another yid, in eating a Shabbos meal, and encouraging somebody else to put on tefillin, and not being so prideful. Oh, what if he says no to me? That my feelings are going to be hurt. About it. Going around collecting tzedakah, that's not easy, but it gives you an opportunity to give tzedakah. So you have to put aside your pride sometimes. It's a difficult position. We don't judge, you know. You got to do it. And also for us, we got to think, you know what, just gave yesterday. There was a guy here yesterday. Gave yesterday and the day before. And then every day there's something else. You can say, oh, 3 people. So what? People need. Hashem, money comes and goes. Hashem gave him the opportunity to ask from you, and he gave for you the opportunity to give to him. Shouldn't look at it like a negative thing in any way. So in a Jew, ki b'Yisrael nefesh de klipa. I'm sorry. The good traits. We have compassion and benevolence. Since this is a nefesh of klipa and evil, how do good characteristics come from this? I just mentioned, but we'll reiterate. Ki b'Yisrael nefesh zu de klipa. In this neutral klipa, which is just a shell, there's also good. And the good within the nefesh gives rise to these positive traits. This klipa is from the esoteric tree of knowledge, which is comprised of good and evil. That ever said that in everything good, there's a little bit of evil. We got to watch out. Somebody goes, Carl, we're going to have a farbrengen, it's going to be great. Okay, but make sure you don't drink too much because you can get out of control. Just first thing that came to my mind. Or this thing is a terrible thing, or that guy's a terrible person. Don't speak to him. That guy was and learns. Okay, his midas are bad now, but we have to figure out how to bring out the best in him. So much ain't okay, the he miside etzadas, much ain't nefashes umatza'ilam, hemishar klippis, tamei she'ain b'hem tev klal. Meshkaz beis chaim. Shar memtes per gimel chol tivay da ovre numeis legamre oy. Kedechsi b'gemar al pasuk v'chesed lumes chatas shekol tzedakah v'chesed shemisayla meisin oy einoin ella lisahed. When a yid acts in a manner that he's motivated mainly out of concern for the welfare of his fellow, the proof is that if we were to follow, fellow. The proof is that were this fellow not to need help or not to need money, this would give him greater pleasure than the gratification derived by his act of kindness, meaning either he's collecting or someone's giving. So we'd rather not have to do that, but we're put in this situation. It should be noted that amongst the nations of the world, there are also found those souls that derive from Klippas Nega, and those are called Tzadikei Ummah Tzailam, the pious ones of the nations of the world. And these righteous individuals are blessed, and they do things not out of selfish motives, but out of genuine concern for their fellow. Okay, that's it for today. The takeaway is, we have 2 souls. The nefesh alikis, the nefesh habahamis. We haven't even really addressed the nefesh alikis yet. That's tomorrow in Perek Beis. Today we talked about the nefesh habahamis, the natural soul that has animal-like tendencies. If you channel it properly, harness it properly, allow it to work for you, you can accomplish great things. You can wake up early. I couldn't sleep so well. I don't know. I got up early this morning. I usually don't. I usually hit snooze once at least. Today I got up like an hour before my alarm. Did some exercise, took a shower. Didn't even know it was snowing outside. Had to go out, shovel the snow. Maybe it's my nefesh habahamis was just wanted to do something. So you channel it in a positive way. I shouldn't use myself as an example. There are plenty of examples that you feel energy and it goes to the wrong places. So use it for the right places. Use it to help another yid. You know, my friend, I said this a couple of weeks ago. A friend got stuck in traffic. I said, call your mother. She's in England. She's waiting for your call. Good point. Anyway, the point is, Chavra, that your inner decisions are rooted in the inner consciousness of these 2 souls. Identify the source of your actions. Where is it coming from? If it's a selfish thing, no matter what, whether it's anger, whether it's pride, whether it's lack of energy, whether it's laziness. There could be a whole slew of things, everything in between. It's probably coming from your nefesh habahamis. Don't allow it to dominate. If it's coming from a good place, you want to run to do a mitzvah, you want to run to shul, you want to get there a little extra early, learn a little bit, that's probably coming from the nefesh halikis. And on that note, there are people collecting tzedakah. So which one is it going to be? Like, I can't be bothered, I got to run out. That's your nefesh habahamis. It's about you. If it's, I got to help this person, nefesh halikis, you tzedakah. Yes, dear.